I've been working on Power since like the inception of it, right? Like I was always around. So for me, it's just interesting to always see Tommy's character, where he's going, and he always seems like he's looking for a family, right? Like his family was left back home with Ghost and Tasha and everything else. And I think, to Shooter's point, it's like we're seeing him now, meeting all these different people, but then also you're starting to see the storyline built within each of them. And you're able to track that, and it gets interesting this season. You know what I mean? I think we see a side of Tommy. Tommy is a tough guy, but I think we all know, when he finds love. So there's a great storyline with that. And it's, again, to Shooter's point, just seeing them all, outside of all the drama that happens, and just how it's all, coming together with each of them. You know what I mean?
So we've mentioned Gary's name a couple of times throughout this conversation. And I know I interviewed Joseph the first season, and he discussed how he felt Tommy wasn't where he should be or in his place initially at first. And I feel with what I've seen early, we're back in that feeling of power, so to speak, but a step forward because we're seeing the evolution of the characters. So for you as directors, there's an aesthetic to Power that we've become familiar with. Obviously, you've known it all along. But what are your favorite types of scenes or elements to shoot where you have that Power aesthetic that you think about, but also incorporating your own vision on top of that? And were there any of those moments this season for you on your
I
episode?
mean, for me, I definitely love when we do exteriors, just to see the world in a bigger picture, right? Especially this season, what Dion mentioned before, like season one, it kind of just focused on one area of Chicago, and it was kind of like, it just always felt like it was downtown. It was always like the Flanagan's world, you know what I mean? And where this season now, I mean, we're in the hood, and where we're supposed to be. Like we see Chicago, what Chicago really is. You know what I mean? I felt that was really, really important. And I loved it. I loved the fact that the ethnicity and the diversity in this new season, right? So like now you not only have the African Americans, but you also have the Latinos, and that story intertwining, right? And then you still have the Flanagans, and I guess the Serbs or whatever they are. But it feels more grounded this season. It just feels so much better. It feels like the original Power. And again, my thing is I love the exteriors more. I think it's fun when you can play with different times of days, and seeing cars out there and buildings and train traffic.
Trains.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the people running by yelling Tommy all the time while we're shooting. But yeah, that's it for me. Again, it's season one. It was just a different thing. It was a different showrunner. He did his best, and it was just not the Tommy I think that we were used to. I think there was a bit of it there, but I also feel he was kind of restricted with the storyline. And I think season two, with Gary knowing the Tommy character, just kind of opened that world back up. And so I think again, people are going to really enjoy season two.
Yeah, I agree with each point of like the exteriors, because what's funny for me is I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I am a country girl. Okay. So like at first when I got out there, I'm like trying to get away from the train and like some of these things. And so, but then Jody and them were like, but look, and I'm like, I started to understand, you know what I'm saying? So it helped me have like an understanding and like an appreciation of the city. And being there for Power Force is like my second time shooting something in Chicago. So like I felt a little more at home. I'd already liked it, you know what I'm saying? And so those exteriors do definitely have like a certain charm to them in a sense to help you like know and love and understand the place a little bit better. So I definitely grew to appreciate them through this show, which I was thankful for, because at first I was like, oh my God, it's loud and all of this stuff. But then next thing you know, I'm like, all right, start on the train, and then, we'll come into the scene that way to just get those like textures, you know what I'm saying, that you need. So I agree with that point there. And then I also like when we go to like these new spaces and, you know, they light them up real dope and we're doing interesting things. Like in my episode, I have this crazy scene. Y'all will know it when you see it, but like, I love the vibe of what was going on in there. When y'all see that scene, y'all gonna be like, that shit is crazy. But just everything that was going on in there was just dope, and down to the lights and just the energy and stuff in there. So I like going to tell these new, you know, these stories in these new spaces, especially because I feel like you learn something and you get a chance to create something fresh. And that tells, you know, setting is a character in itself, basically.
Yeah, that when you get an opportunity, you know, the original Power was New York. The backdrop of these the most successful things that we see, film or television, the backdrop is a character. You know, whatever it might be that you're thinking about, you know, if it's the South, you know what I mean? If you're thinking about Hustle and Flow, you know, you just remember how that felt and how that looked. You know, that's a world, you know, the original Power, that's a world, New York, you know, seeing the Ghost and Tommy on them streets and, you know, going in and out of the nightclub. And that's a whole piece to how this works. It's no different. Chicago is a character. So, you know, the L train and the downtown and the loop and the, you know, where he's driving the car and getting out, that's just as important as, you know, at times the scene, you know, because you have to put people in that world. And I believe that what Eve said is absolutely 100% correct. Like Gary, because he was an original, you know, brand of this show, he knew what to do to get Tommy's compass back. Do you know what I mean? I think at times in the original first season, you know, it was a little bit of, and whoever was writing, it was like you're trying to figure out how to put this character in another world. That's very hard to do, whomever it is. You know what I mean? This is something that we all love, and we're like, yo, man, don't fuck it up. You know what I mean? So imagine the energy and the pressure behind that. But now you can see, okay, that didn't land how we wanted to, but here we got to put them back in the world that everyone remembers. And the exteriors to me were a slam dunk in season 2. Being able to get out, shoot Chicago, feel it, be inside, you know, be in those worlds, put the actors in those worlds, to me was everything that allows you to paint as a director, Jody to paint as a cinematographer, because that's why you watch the shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the cheapest movie, you try to do as many interiors as you can. You just try to cut the stuff, but to, you know, you're using stock footage and stuff, but this is great because they allowed you to take your camera outside and really, like Shooter just said, pan off of the L train down to a scene. That's dope. You know what I mean? And for it to be a Black-led show, you know what I mean? Or Black produced show, or however you want to frame it, you know, is giving us all opportunities to work in this medium, which at a time we could not get in. It's allowing people that look like us, that's texturally like us, to be in a show like this. So when you start talking about being able to jump out and shoot exterior shots, that might not sound like a big deal to a lot of people, but that's a big deal to a Black filmmaker working on a television show. You know what I mean? Because you normally got to be A, B, C, D. You go inside, you cut to this, you're on the stage, whatever it might be. So to be able to really be able to get out there and shoot, man, like that's what I love most about the show. And also I think you need that to make sure people understand that, you know, the show is gritty and it's dope and it's edgy and it feels good and the trailer's gonna trailer right. You know what I mean? And the car really did that stunt. And, you know, he really shot that gun. Like, to be able to do those things is dope because it just makes it all come up, especially with a Tommy. You know, it's now like, yo, Tommy's like, he's live in it. He's in that world and he's kicking ass. And that's what we wanted to portray in this one.
Amazing. Well, Cierra, Shooter, Deon, Eve, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We are looking forward to seeing season 2 of Power Book 4 Force.
Bye.